Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Little Give. I'm excited to peel back the layers of today's guest. Go ahead, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, tell us what you're all about.
I am so happy to be here today. Hi, everyone. My name's Tina. I come from Vancouver in Canada, and I am an author. I have written a book called Finding My Sovereignty, and I believe we're going to talk about that today.
Yes, we most certainly are going to peel back the layers of their book and everything you're all about. Tell us, is that where your journey started? Was that you just always wanted to be an author, or is this something that just came to be here recently?
Actually, no, I never wanted to be an author. It was kind of one of those things. I've traveled very extensively in my life. I work in the tourism industry, and I spent years on living in Mexico, Japan, and then I worked on cruise ships. So really, I've traveled a lot. And I always thought that I would write a book one day, but like when I retired, and it would be all the kind of like wonderful stories of my travels. So this is nowhere near that. And it kind of came as a surprise, and it was really part of my healing journey is what it came down to. I was broken, and I was leaving my third very narcissistic partner, and I finally understood that was the word I needed to use there, and that I had a pattern. And that's what kickstarted it all. Me looking at myself going, something is wrong here, and it's not them, it's me. Not that what they did was me. What I mean is, what's wrong with me that I keep attracting, that I only attract narcissistic partners? That was my moment where I just went, stop. I don't want another partner ever again if I can't change this pattern.
Oh, wow. That's like a big revelation. You said that this book was a surprise. So tell us a bit about how that came to be. It seems pretty interesting to have a surprise book that just kind of pops up about a totally different subject than what you intended.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, after I left this, well, not even true. I hadn't even left him yet. After this partner and I broke up, and I understood that there was a problem here and a pattern. What it simultaneously did is unlocked my childhood, because I had very much buried that deeply. I knew the things that had happened in my very abusive childhood, but I didn't remember. And so I started to unlock that. Those memories started to come back. And that also was just a huge indicator to me that like this wants to be faced and dealt with. And so I sought help, and I'm a spiritual person. So I sought help in the form of a channeler. I didn't know who to go to. I'd been on ships for years. I'd only been home a couple of years. So I didn't know any sort of spiritual gurus around here. And so I asked a girlfriend who went to a lot of these kinds of things and just said, do you have someone you can recommend? And so she recommended this channeler, and I went to see her. And I was so angry, when I went to see her, because I felt deceived by myself, because as much as I'd like to say I didn't see it coming, the truth is I saw it coming on day one, and I chose to ignore it because I wanted the love story, because it was so romantic, right? It was such a beautiful story. Well, then when it all fell apart, I was angry at myself for not seeing it coming, right? I was angry at him for deceiving me, knowing that I grew up with a very bipolar mother, and he was bipolar. So, you kind of knew where I was coming from. And then I was really angry at the universe. Like, I was so angry. And so when I went to this woman, I just like raged. I was just like, I am so mad. Why do some people get to leave these incredibly charmed lives, or at least that's how they look from the outside? And then some of us just have all this crap heaped on us. Why? It's not fair. I'm a good person, right? Because that's what we always, how we defend ourselves, right? I'm a good person. So why? And she explained why. And that was the game changer for me. And when I understood that I was attracting these things to me because of the law of attraction, broken people attract broken people. Whether you're the one receiving the abuse or giving it, if you're in a narcissistic state, you're also broken. It's just coming out in a different way. And so we find each other, don't we? And this was the pattern. And so we walked through that, and I understood it. And then came the mandate of, have you ever thought of writing a book? And I was like, yes, but about my travels. And she just went, oh, you're so cute. No. And I just went, no, don't make me write about this. That was honestly my initial reaction was
scary.
and it's your life. It's personal.
Mhm.
And it's not
Yeah.
the good things you did. It's your epic failures, because it's how it feels at that time, right? Because we judge it. I'm still in a place where I'm judging myself before my healing. So she said, you're going to write this book and you're going to heal as you write it. And don't worry, you'll find the time. It'll take you 2 years. And I see it on the shelves. Because of course she's seen it all, right? And she's,
Manifesting it for you.
what's that?
I said, was she
Yes,
manifesting it for you?
yes, that's what I said. Could you write it as well, since you're seeing it all?
You got it all figured out.
To have it there, because she's even laughing as she's like reading it in her head, and I'm going, wow, I haven't even come up with this yet, and she's like really literally seeing it. And so
That's cool.
crazy, right? And she said, listen, Tina, if you've been through it, imagine how many other people have been through it, and that
Mhm.
is the paying it forward, to help other people the same way you're being helped right now. So I couldn't argue with that mission.
Hi, my name is Justin Clark, and I'm the president of the board of directors for Driving Single Parents, a 501c3 nonprofit serving the citizens of San Antonio and Bexar County, Texas. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about the great work that our organization is doing for the citizens of San Antonio. What you're about to see is just a few photos and videos of the way that we're changing lives for single parents in and around San Antonio, Texas. Our first giveaway took place in April of 2017, just one short month after the formation of our organization. John, a Bexar County resident, was the victim of a horrible drunk driver incident. He and his daughter survived the crash, and we were so proud to give our first car to this deserving family. Fast forward to 2020, a very difficult year for nonprofits. We were able to secure 4 vehicles for single parents in need. Our organization, including our board of directors, list of partners, and portfolio of people we've been able to help in San Antonio, continues to grow, and it's all thanks to donors and local community organizations that have helped us along the way. This giveaway took place in 2021 and shows that we continue to help single parents even after the struggles brought about by COVID-19. Because of limited funds and the overwhelming need, we at Driving Single Parents are incredibly selective with the people we help. Some are victims of domestic violence. Others had a spouse pass away tragically, or otherwise fell on hard times. These single parents show adversity in the face of challenge and aren't looking for a handout. We offer a hand up and help get them back in the driver's seat. Many of the single parents we help go on to graduate college, get promotions, get married, mentor others, and some have even been so touched by the gift we gave them that they have decided to join our board of directors to pay it forward and ensure the continued growth of our organization. If you would like to help our organization continue to grow and continue to help single parents in need in San Antonio, Texas, and Bexar County, Texas, we would really appreciate your support. Please visit us online at www.drivingsingleparents.org. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think that we're the most qualified to help the person we used to be. So I think that's amazing that you were able to like write it to help somebody who was experiencing the same thing as you were, because just like she said, that's what happens is if you're going through it and growing through it, there's somebody out there who's also in an earlier stage of that path than you are now. So that's amazing.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah. Well, and also I want to hear from someone who's been in it. If you're going to teach me how to get out of it, I want to know you were in it, right? That's why I think sometimes we're given these soul missions of experiencing these sometimes terrible things, because we are going to end up being healers and teachers. And we can't be those unless we've kind of been through the ringer ourselves, right? We don't know what we're talking about. It's different to read about it than to live it, for sure.
Absolutely. And then that can form that connection with the reader where they're reading through your story and they're going, like that happened to me too. Like, and connecting. And then they feel like they're open to hear what's next because they're like, oh, she knows exactly what I'm going through.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Because that's what I wanted, right? when I was
Yeah.
in my pain, I didn't want to hear from some expert who'd never been through it, right? But studied it. It's like, no.
Right, right, exactly. So whenever you started writing the book and you finally were like, okay, fine, I'll do it. What was like the first step you went through?
Well, okay. So there was a couple of things I really needed to do first because, first of all, how do you write about something you don't remember, right? Like I was like, that was my question. I'm going, how am I supposed to do this, right? She's like, don't worry. You'll find the time. Because I'm also thinking, where am I supposed to find the time? And she said, the things that need to be revealed to you will be revealed. Because I said, should I go do hypnotherapy, right? Do I need to go remember childhood? And I had asked that question 3 times in my life. Do I need to go do hypnotherapy and remember it? And I was always told no. And she said to me, no, you don't need to remember all of it because it won't serve you. You only need to remember enough to heal it. And of course, in this case, to write about it. So I sat with my sister, is my older sister, because she's only a year older. So her and I were really, in the same, because I had younger sisters. So her and I really lived the same experience. And so I sat with her at first and just said, please tell me everything you remember. And of course she was like, ugh, gross. Like, are you sure? Like once you ask this question, you can't take it back. And so I did that. And I learned how to meditate during this time. I learned how to do yoga during this time because, as you can imagine, I was stirring up so much. A big part of the story is that as soon as I sat down to write, COVID hit. So not only did I lose my tourism job, and I had 2 years to do nothing but write, but I also lost any source of income. So there was that added stress sort of no money coming in. And yet, I've been told to do this thing and I'm going on absolute faith. Right. So, and that's what I did. And honestly, for me, like spirit provided it. Every time I thought I'm about to run out of money, the government would give us a chunk and I'd be part of it. And I'd go, wow, okay, I'm good for another 3 months. Right. Like, and it was really like, it was like that. And the same thing for the writing.
Well, just like, you told her, you said, I don't have time. When am I going to find the time? Well, there you go. There's your time. And you're like, well, you had a lot of time then, right? And then how am I going to get the resources? And then boom, it just showed up in your life. It's so interesting.
Yeah. And I'm grateful for that because I know for so many people, this was really such a stressful time. And I'm not to say that I didn't go through a lot of stress. I was going through healing. I was going through all my stuff. Right. But when you're going through that much deep work of healing, to have 2 years of complete isolation, because I live by myself. So when I say I was isolated, I mean, I was in an apartment, so isolated. But it forced me to go within and it forced me to spend my time doing this. And I have no regret about that. Honestly, I was such a different person when it was over. And I viewed things so differently from such a place of healing.
How did you cope with all that? Obviously, you're by yourself. You're writing your first book. You're kind of reliving a lot of things that were traumatizing that happened to you. How did you cope with that on your own?
So that's where it got a little tricky and interesting because I was never left hanging. I will say that, right? Once I started this mission, I was never left hanging. So I'd write about something and because I had never been a writer, I'm a storyteller and I've always been a storyteller. I am a public speaker. So I am really a storyteller, but writing is different, right? So I had to just change the way I did things, but I knew the story. I knew the stories that were going to go into it. Let's put it that way. I didn't know how it was going to end, but as I would write, I would write about, I started at the beginning and I figured I'd go from there because I really didn't know what I was doing. So I started at the beginning. So of course, childhood is the first thing coming up. Man, I started having nightmares. I started having, I was starting to get psychically attacked. I started to get migraines. I don't get migraines. So all of a sudden I'd be writing about something and I'd literally feel like someone just put a migraine in my head because I'd go, it was crazy. And because I lost my job, although I wasn't going broke, I was spending my savings, so it was a little bit scary. I couldn't pay the channeler again. So I didn't have anyone to consult. I kind of was left on my own. So I turned to YouTube for the first time in my life. This is why I learned how to meditate because I had never meditated before this. I learned how to do yoga because I needed to get some movement and move that energy. I understood that. I turned to YouTube and I would just say, spirit, source, God, whatever is out there, I need to heal this. I don't know how. And man, I'm telling you, I'd go to YouTube and the first person that would pop up would be like, how to heal your childhood trauma. And I would resonate, because there can be a lot of bad stuff on YouTube, right? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
but it would just hit me like it was, I knew it just resonated. And that's honestly was the process, because it would stop me and go, you're not writing anymore. And I'd get writer's blocks for hours and hours and hours. And I'd go, what's going on here? And then I'd realize, no, you don't get to move forward till you go and heal what you just wrote about. That's what you need to do. Heal that first.
Hi, my name is Andrew Fraley, and I believe that sometimes we all need a little bit of help. If you're in the San Antonio community and you need some legal help, call me at 210-725-4658.
But I love that you're sharing all of that, because I love it whenever somebody comes on, they're raw and open and honest about their journey, because there's most likely somebody out there who's watching this episode right now that says, I could never write a book. That's nice for her, but I could never do it. And I have way too much trauma, or I'm not a writer. Like for me, I'm a 5-time international bestselling author, but I don't even like to read. So like, so the point is that there's somebody out there who's watching who, can say, well, maybe I could do it. If she could do it, maybe I could do it. And if she can heal all of her trauma, and if she could seek out resources like YouTube to try to get to wherever she needs to go next, and stop writing for a while to restart and relive it. I mean, if she could do it, then maybe I could. And that's one of the big messages I try to share on the show, is that, you made a decision to write this book, and then you went and did it. And you went through a lot of obstacles to get there, but you're here now. And anybody can really put forth the effort to do something big in their life if they really try.
Absolutely. And until we try, how do we know, right? Of course, this intimidated me. Of course, I was nervous. One of the beautiful things is I didn't have a timeline. So there was no pressure for me from like a publisher or something to say, hey, you need to have this done in 6 months or 9 months. So for me, the process of writing it was never to finish it. It was always to heal. And then we then obviously we work on finishing it. And honestly, I edited this 4 times myself before I ever passed it on to a professional editor. And every single time I went through that book, man, there was another layer of healing that was being revealed. So it was really cool to sort of really be present in that process, because I was really present in it, because it wasn't just sort of happening as I was going about my life, husband, kids, jobs, bits of healing. No, it was all about that. And I took notes, as well as writing the book on the side. I was taking notes on what I did to heal, because I knew that I would follow this book up with a workbook, a practical workbook with hands-on things that I tried and that worked.
That's incredible. It's just another example of you never know really what the big picture is, especially like if you can't see the full picture if you're inside the frame, and often we live inside the frame of our own lives. So we can't see the full picture. And you had your eyes open to this book idea, and then you grew through all these things to get the book out. And then now that's not it. There's more, and you're doing this and that and things you probably would never have expected to do, just because you made that decision to really just start. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm proud of myself. I learned new things, right? I didn't know how to write. I wrote. Didn't know how to edit. I edited. I didn't know how to do a cover. I got a cover done. We learned. I didn't know how
It's
to.
Beautiful, by the way.
I hired someone, just so we're super clear about that. I didn't do
beautiful.
I hired someone. Thank you so much. I really love art. I'm huge about art. So probably against a little advice, I really wanted art on my cover, and I went with my instinct. So I'm proud of it.
Yeah, you should be. And I think that's one of the best feelings in the world, is to be proud of yourself. It's one thing for somebody to say, oh, wow, it's really cool you're an author, or to say, wow, good job, or I read your book and it's awesome. Those are all great. But when you feel that pride in yourself, I think that's probably one of the greatest gifts. Absolutely. Without needing anyone else's acknowledgement, to know that you're proud of yourself is huge, and shows that you're healing, right? True, yes. So why don't you tell the audience an example of a little thing that they can do in their community that might be a little give on their end, but might make a big impact on the other side? This is something, I'm so glad you asked that. And I could have done something thematic in the book, but I actually chose something that I did myself this winter because I heard someone talk about it and I thought that's really a smart idea.
especially where I'm from in Vancouver, it's still cold, right? We're still sitting here at like 45, 50 degrees. You're American, I believe, so Fahrenheit. So, about 6, 8, 7 somewhere degrees Celsius. It's cold outside. We have a lot of homeless people. And I've never been a big advocate of giving money only because there's so much drug use here in Vancouver. I want to give things that I know are going to be used for good. So socks, gloves. I had a homeless person tell me recently that socks are one of the biggest things that they love because, especially here in our climate where it's incredibly rainy, their feet are always wet. And they don't even care if you just take all your old socks, please wash them first, and give it to them. If that's all you have, and if you can go and buy a slew of socks, do it that way. But it's a little thing and it makes a huge difference.
It truly does make a big, big impact. And I've heard that as well, that socks are one of the big things that people need. And yeah, it's something so simple that you can do it. And like you said, if you can't afford to go and buy a pack of socks to hand out, no problem. Just go and find, a pair of socks or a few pairs of socks that you have on hand that you can donate. It really does change the way that person sees the world and their daily, comfort.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. Can you give the audience an example of a time in your life where somebody did something little for you that might have just been a little give on their end, but really made an impact on you and in your life?
Yes, I can. I have many examples of this, but the one that comes to my mind is actually in my book, and I barely mention it, but it really had a huge impact on me. After I left my second partner, who was a drug addict, I was so in debt. As you can imagine, all the debt was mine because he had no credit. So it all became mine. But I'm like, oh my gosh, 35. I'm about to declare bankruptcy. I mean, I'm at my lowest low. And when I went to see this woman, she didn't judge me. She didn't berate me for dating an addict and you should have gotten out sooner. She listened. And she empathized with me and she praised me for having the courage to leave. And she just made something that was, oof, I could almost cry now. I can feel myself. Wow, that's funny. I haven't told this story in a long time, but I'm laying my pride and my life at her feet. And she was kind to me. And that meant everything.
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful story to share, and that's just right there. It just shows that you never know what impact you're making on someone else. I'm sure in that moment, she was just doing what she felt was right and didn't realize the big impact that she was making on you in that moment. And we all have the ability to do this for people in our lives every day. So Thank you for sharing that story.
Thank you. I the added thing, she had no idea, but I was pretty suicidal at that time. So when a stranger is kind to you, it goes a long way. Be kind to someone. Randomly compliment people for no reason. It's amazing what that does.
Absolutely. A big boost. It can really make somebody's day go from sad to great. Just a little simple thing that cost us nothing. Just be kind.
Yeah.
Great example. Speaking of kindness, is there any nonprofits that you'd like to feature today?
Yes, I have one here that's local here in Canada. They have a head office here in Vancouver and in Calgary. They're called the SA Foundation, and they help women and children to leave domestic violence situations. They find housing for them, and then they help to get them on their feet because it's not enough to just escape, right? Sometimes you're so lost in this. Again, like me, I was so lost. I was suicidal. I didn't know where to begin. So to give you housing is one thing, but to make sure that there's the counseling and teaching people how to make resumes and get the experiences to do jobs. This is all part of their foundation, and I really admire that. And yes, it's up on the screen here, so you can take a look and you can donate money to them and the SA Foundation.
So where did you first hear about this nonprofit?
I wanted to find one that was local that would support this kind of thing because, domestic violence is very near and dear to my heart. And I know it's near and dear to yours as well. And I actually was listening to a woman talk, and there was one in New Zealand I was going to sponsor because she's quite a known survivor and I really like her, but I really wanted to do something local. So I did some research is the honest truth. And then I did big meditation to make sure that this was a legitimate cause. And I really just searched them out. That's the truth.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's what anybody has the power to do. If you're thinking on you want to support a nonprofit, you don't know one right off the top of your head, there's so many resources out there to connect you with some really great causes that are doing the big things that are really making a change in this world. And then, these nonprofits really rely on the kindness of people to help donate and help volunteer and do all of those things to continue their mission.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, if anybody out there wants to know more about you and all you do, they want to get in touch, they want to find that book, can you give them all the details?
Yes, absolutely. So start again. You can find my book on Amazon if you're just going to look at it. If you're a retailer, it's on Ingram Sparks. And I have an author's website, so you can go to that. It's called sovereignandsage.com. And the links to buy the book are there, and to all of the podcasts and, shows like this that I'll be on. The links will be there as well. And when my next book comes out, the one that will be the Healing Workbook in September, that will be on there as well when I'm ready to announce it. You just got a sneak little hint that it's coming out. I guess that's what I'm looking.
Yeah, we feel honored to have that little tip, that little hint, so we can keep an eye out for it on your website. Everybody who's watching, watch for her new book and get in touch with her to learn more about all she does. If you are passionate about that nonprofit, please go over to their website, find out more. And if you're passionate about it, go make a donation. $1 or $5 multiplied by the many, many people we have watching this episode today makes a huge impact to these nonprofits. And I've seen you all do it many times before. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for being on today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and we'll see everybody next week. If you enjoyed this episode of Little Give, head on over to our website at littlegive.com. You'll be able to find all the information about previous episodes and past guests that we've had on. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on Little Give, all the information is also on the website. And if you have a nonprofit that you love and would like to recommend be on the show, all of that information is also on the website. We really appreciate you watching today, and we can't wait to see you again next week.